Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. An appeal for calm in Jamaica as various public sector workers demand wage increases. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 18th May 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Jamaica's Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke has appealed for calm and patience as various workers in the public sector make demands for wage increases to meet the rising cost of living. More in this television Jamaica news item.
The Jamaica Civil Service Association withdrew a notice which would see its more than 30,000 members strike on Monday. But there was still uncertainty over whether any other group would take strike action this week. Ahead of the work week, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke sought to pull on the heartstrings of public sector workers once more, reminding them that the country is moving forward economically.
However, this much-needed economic recovery can easily be interrupted and reversed if services are disrupted due to industrial action. Such a reversal would set Jamaica back tremendously, costing jobs. This would negatively impact us all, from the decline in government revenues that would follow and the cuts in budgetary expenditure that would then become necessary. Jamaica cannot afford this.
A consultative process is now underway for the Finance Ministry to conclude negotiations for the compensation review. However, Dr. Clarke says it is a complex reform. He says consultations will conclude with central government workers first. He promised to engage with unions representing workers in public bodies within 6 months.
Governments and central banks across the world are now grappling with an increase in the cost of living as Russia's invasion of Ukraine compounds COVID-induced logistical challenges. Antiguans and Barbudans are also feeling the pinch, with headline inflation reaching just over 6% in March. ABS News gauged the views of shoppers on how they have been coping with the higher prices. Jessica Russell went to 2 supermarkets to find out.
Cost of living has recently increased astronomically, causing some to make adjustments to their shopping.
I didn't really feel it until I go to the gas pump, because when I was there, usually it takes like as I said, $175 to fill my gas tank. And when I went there last weekend and the girl told me $210, I was like, wow.
This man says Antiguans should be wise in how they spend, especially given the sharp increases in the cost of goods.
Spend accordingly. We can't go over our budget or we can't go above our means. Check. You can't see a t-shirt and tongue you want to go and buy it every weekend or go and party. You have to know how you're doing your thing. This is economic COVID now, right? So you have to know how you spend your money now.
A shopper at Perry Bay Supermarket who didn't want to appear on camera says he focuses on the necessities.
The bare essentials, you just have to buy them, pick them up, and just, it is what it is. Some things you got to cut back on, but not when it comes to your eating.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gaston Brown says the government is trying to manage the issue.
We're doing our best to control those situations. The good news is that we have such a large category of goods that are exempt from the various taxes, that in itself creates a buffer against the increase in food prices. Not to say there's not an increase, but it could have been worse if we didn't have those exemptions and zero-rated goods. And so what people need to do now is to buy smart.
He was speaking on his weekly radio program. Jessica Russell, ABS News.
Over in Trinidad, where VAT-registered businesses score big in the midterm budget review, with government releasing 1.6 of its 3.81 additional billions to refunding businesses.
It's a $3.81 billion appropriation for the 2022 fiscal budget, and it features adjustments to 29 heads, with most of the money coming from the Consolidated Fund. The rest will be borrowed, although Finance Minister Common Burt hinted strongly the need may not arise as TNT, he says, is an economy in recovery.
If you look across the board, you look at all the sectors, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, food and beverages, petroleum and chemical products, transport and storage, construction, real estate, professional services, financial services, and so on and so on. If you look at the data that's presented there, you are going to see a recovery in almost every single sector of the economy.
But where will this $3.81 billion go? Well, almost half is to be used to pay VAT refunds to VAT-registered businesses.
We have decided to increase VAT refunds for the period, we have already started, for the period April to September 2022 in the amount of $1.6 billion, Madam Speaker. And we think this will go a long way to assisting businesses with cash flow, putting businesses in funds to allow them to continue their operations.
Budgetary adjustments across other heads mainly cover arrears like utility payments, loans, janitorial, and security fees. For the Ministry of Works and Transport, of the $97 additional million appropriated, 66 will go to subsidize the Airports Authority, whose income has been affected by the pandemic. For the Health Ministry, the additional allocation will cover, among other things, the procurement of vaccines. Public utilities received $58 million for developmental projects. According to Minister Imbert, this will go to addressing some of the sore points leading to the countrywide outage earlier this year. But government, the sole importer of fuel, was able to cash in on over $500 million of profit when international fuel prices were below the at-the-pump price. Here's how that will be used.
That entire surplus, which is in excess of $500 million, is going to be used to subsidize the price of LPG, cooking gas, so that, again, in terms of where the revenue is going and where the money is being spent, the surplus generated from the sale of petroleum fuels will be utilized in part to deal with the continued subsidy of liquefied petroleum gas or cooking gas, which is a significant amount, hundreds of millions of dollars every single year.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Opposition leader in Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, wants the government to show how it spent the $52 billion allocated for fiscal 2022. Details in this TTT News item.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar wants the government to show how it spent the $52 billion allocated for fiscal 2022. In her response to the Finance Appropriation Bill 2022, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said the Finance Minister's presentation had nothing for the people, nothing to help with crime, no new projects, and no new revenue streams. She noted that out of the additional $3 billion for fiscal 2022, $1.7 billion is going towards current transfers and subsidies.
A lot of this is to pay bills, paying TNTech bills, TSTT bills, WASA bills, rentals, and so on. But listen, all those things is from one arm of the state to the next arm of the state. That's not going to be helping people out there. And some of those things date back to 2018. Some of those bills they have been owing since 2018. And then you want to know WASA running bankrupt. You want to know why TSTT is going bankrupt.
Opposition leader also questioned an allocation of $100 million under the new Secondary Road and Rehabilitation Company. The company will fall under the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government.
secondary roads now? Isn't it that the, the regional corporations, they handle secondary roads? Is it then that you're going to take this away from the regional corporations as we run up to the local government elections and therefore do it through a private company, a state company, instead of through the regional corporations? And then you can handpick where you want to go rather than giving equal funding.
Still on Trinidad, an operator has been shortlisted for the refinery, but no word yet on when the deal will be sealed. The refinery was shut down on 30th November 2018 after the government said to keep it running would bankrupt the country. There have been at least 25 bids for the sale or lease of the refinery.
It's official, and if all goes as announced by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Raleigh, TNT can get back in the business of refining oil.
The further proposals of the 4 bidders were received and evaluated. After evaluation, TPHL has identified a preferred bidder and is currently pursuing discussions with this entity. The process is ongoing, and as the member has quite pointedly mentioned, only recently this was stated, Madam Speaker.
Dr. Rowley was responding to a question during the Prime Minister's question segment of the sitting of the lower house on Monday. He says because of the nature of the deal, no timeline can be given, and he's not willing to hazard a guess. He was also quizzed on the sale of Trin City Mall, questions which he labelled as pure mischief from the opposition.
Madam Speaker, Trin City Mall, which is under the control of the liquidator of CL Financial, True Home Construction Limited, a subsidiary of CL Financial, and therefore not under the control of the state, has not even been advertised for sale as yet, far less sold. The member is engaging in pure mischief and a waste of parliament time.
All the same, the Prime Minister provided the answer.
The liquidator obtained external stakeholders' approval for sale. The liquidator sought sanction from court with respect to the sale of Trin City Mall. The court granted the order. The liquidator held meetings with HCL regarding the divestment strategy. The agent has provided draft sales documentation to the liquidator for review and consideration. The sale process will be imminently launched, Madam Speaker, and that is as I am told.
When asked about the benefits of his recent trip to the United States, the Prime Minister listed the diplomats with whom he met. But this would not suffice for the opposition.
Could the Prime Minister indicate whether he held talks with Fortune 500 companies seeking to reduce supply chain vulnerabilities away from China and the Far East towards this region?
Madam Speaker, I am not responsible for the members' reading material. I have told the Parliament where I have worked, whose interests I have served, and I have nothing more to say to him in his explanation.
Urvashi Tiwari, Rupnarine, TV6 News.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.